Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Johnny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. It's Friday, it's 5pm, it's January, and we are back to fill your ears as you fill your delicious gullet. Delicious gullet? No. Gullet with delicious beer every Friday. I should have let Brad interject earlier, if I'm honest.
We're here to fill your boots with nonsense, Johnny. That's what we're here to do.
Filling your boots with nonsense since, when did we start this? I don't even remember. 2019? Are we 4 years old now?
Could be.
And we're creeping towards our 200th podcast.
Pretty good, eh? Who would have thought a 2-century podcast?
Yeah, we
what
pretty
do they
much
call that in cricket or something. Is that a thing? Isn't there a century in cricket or something? I don't
there
know
is, but obviously
cricket.
that's for 100.
Yeah. Well, we're at 200 bicentenary.
Double century?
Is it bicentenary?
Bicentenary? I don't even know.
Is that every 200 years or is that 200 years?
I think it's 200 years.
We're calling it.
This is I was about to say this is our bicentenary podcast. It's not. This podcast has started as it's going to continue for the rest of the year, which is being entirely irrelevant, and not really about beer. How was your Christmas, Bradders?
It's pretty good. Although we just nearly failed to launch this pod because I'm not actually at home at the moment. I'm in Margate, and I'm trying to rush around to set up the podcasting on the road suite. Which is my laptop and my earphones, and I managed to drop my mobile phone down the middle of a folding sofa bed, and then it got stuck in the mechanism, and I couldn't see it was stuck in the mechanism, and then I was unable to close it or open it, and I had to move the sofa bed around the room to then managed to pull the extending bit out, but then I broke the extending bit that came out, Johnny. So I had to then do all of that. And then when I moved it, I could see there was loads of dust on the floor. So I just got loads of dust all over my purple sock, which I'm wearing. Well, I'm wearing 2 of them, but very dusty socks.
As always, your stories are visceral. It's like I'm in the room.
I know.
And for a while during that crisis, I was in the room because I was on the phone to you you with headphones on.
You were in the mechanism, Johnny. What was it down in the mechanism?
Was I like the Knight Rider? But I was a sofa.
Yeah. You were. The sofa for 1 second had become sentient.
Wow.
With a handheld computer device, Johnny.
We're 3 minutes in and we've got the name of the podcast, Sentient Sofa.
There you go, Sentient Sofa.
We're getting this podcast right on track now.
Boom.
So sorry, I asked how your Christmas was, and you talked to me about a folding sofa.
It was, I did. My Christmas was pretty good. It's always a bit of a sad time of year because I lost my dad, so I'm just thinking about that really. But it's really nice to see my family, my sister and her children, and spend a bit of time with who you've got around and the people that you love. Which is really nice to sort of do that. I can only do it in small bursts because she's got 3 kids, and I must have some problems with noise or something because it gets a bit too much for me, Johnny. After a couple of hours, I have to
that's just
run
kids.
Away.
I don't think that's you.
Run away. I can't cope with it. So I love them. They're all brilliant, but they're really loud and full on. And I've one of them's poked me in the eye before, which really hurt. I'm sure you've had all of this having a kid. But like just getting punched in the eye and stuff like that is like wild. I think one of them's kicked me in the balls before, or like definitely when they've jumped on me, they've definitely crunched my yeah. Anyway, but it's yeah. So there's all that going on at Crimbo, and then I don't eat turkey, so I don't have a traditional Crimbo. I have ham instead of turkey, which
Well, that's
is good.
traditional. Most people
Everyone
have
likes
a
ham
Christmas
as well, don't
ham
they?
with
So-
it. You have your ham and your turkey.
Exactly. So I just go full pork.
We had
Ham.
cider ham. It was very good.
Cider ham, that's nice.
Cooked
That
in
is nice.
cider, yeah.
My sister does really nice roasted veg with like honey and chisel on them. So
Honey
that,
roasted
you know,
carrots and parsnips.
Yeah, honey roasted carrots with, you know, a real honey kind of ham guy, and then pigs in blankets, which have also been doused in some
Honey.
sort of sugary this.
Yeah.
So it's a real honey fest, a porky honey meat fest. It's pretty good. It was all right. How about you? How was your Crimbo, mate?
Well, I was going to say, so I was on Christmas dinner cooking duty, and because I was still finishing the book, still am to some extent. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But I was working very hard over Christmas, and also didn't feel that great because I think everybody in the entirety of the UK had the lurgy at some point. So
Yeah,
I
I've still got it.
actually only really drank at Christmas for about 4 hours during the day, which is when I was cooking.
Yeah.
And I drank too much.
Oh wow.
And there's now a photo of me passed out on the sofa about 3 p.m. on Christmas Day.
Is this
Not passed
from-
out, just exhausted and
Yeah, I was
asleep.
gonna say it's probably exhaustion, isn't it, having a kid?
Yeah, there's this lovely
cooking.
photo of me fast asleep on the sofa and my daughter just holding my hand and watching telly. And apparently she was there for the full like hour and a half I was asleep, which,
So
you know,
you've-
was heartwarming for everybody except for me because I didn't realise it was happening.
You've gone straight through the sort of dad role at Christmas to granddad.
Yeah,
Where you
I
just
seem to have
fall
skipped
asleep.
middle age.
Wow. Okay. Maybe it's it's all the factors attributing it, but certainly that's the older crew at Christmas time just fall asleep at very early o'clock, don't they?
Yeah, I was the first to go for the first time in my
Wow.
life.
There
Yeah.
you go. Oh man. It's all downhill from here, buddy.
You know what?
Well, maybe
I think
uphill.
I think it's the peak. I think that was the best thing you
Peak
could do
dad.
at Christmas. Cook,
Yeah.
eat, sleep.
Repeat.
And there's Paddington on telly for when you
Nice.
wake up. You know, it was okay.
Yeah. It's pretty good, Paddington.
It was okay. Obviously, I also didn't make it to midnight for New Year, so I'm just relieved to be. I think I'm more perky in January than I was in December.
Nice.
Which is good because we're coming straight out the gate. We came out. We'll talk about our video in a bit, which has gone great guns. People have missed us or people are furious at what we say in our big in 2024.
Oh yeah.
But we've also got a very exciting video next week. I'm off to Egypt the week after that, and we're planning some very special content for this year.
We certainly are. Johnny.
And we've got
gonna
an
be
app launch.
action-packed.
Maybe there'll be
Yes.
a Love and Beer version 2 festival.
Oof,
you know,
that's
it's
exciting.
going to be a big year.
Should be.
It makes
Big
me
in
want
24.
to lie down on the sofa just thinking about it, actually.
Yeah. Big time. What are we going to talk about first? Do you want to talk about the video? Oh, I'll tell you what, mate. My Christmas as well, Boxing Day. I now try and do this every Boxing Day. I go to Hastings and I watch the Morris Men, obviously. This year my mum didn't want to come. I managed to get her to go last year, but I took my sister. Well, I didn't take. I sat in the back of the car like a child while my sister's family and me went to Hastings, and we watched the local Morris troops battle each other. And it was weird. There was a bunch of different ones, but they all seemed to be similar people in them. So they were like jumping from one troop to another troop, which don't know if that's frowned upon, Johnny, but I certainly felt a little bit cheated when they said, here are the whatever visiting team, and half of them were the same people that were on the local team, which was very confusing.
Was it like amateur football on Saturdays where like you didn't quite have enough people to make up the team, so you just
I
had
don't
to
know.
borrow
Oh, dude.
somebody?
There were loads of them. There were absolutely loads of them. I think. I did put a little bit on Instagram on the stories. So
Yes, you did.
There was go on.
Because Brad isn't often on the CBC Instagram, but every now and then I'll just sign in. I'll be like, "What are all these likes and comments
What's
about?"
going on?
And it'll
You
be
thought you were
Morris
being
Men
hacked.
content.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's mostly
it'll be
Morris
Morris Men
Men
content.
We need
to. You have to join a club, Brad. You can't just be a casual observer.
Well, I've got an idea.
You get kicked out of swingers clubs for this.
Yeah,
and I think it should be the same with Morrisman.
I've got an idea for another YouTube channel, Johnny.
Oh god.
Which is
good.
basically, yeah, exactly. Which is basically where I join different clubs and try a new.
Not just
hobby.
Morris Men, or just different Morris Men clubs.
Different clubs,
Okay.
different things, different interests.
So it's like clubbing in middle age.
Yeah. So I don't know whether. Well, we haven't got time, but in my head, I'd love for us to join different clubs, even if we're talking for one day.
I think I speak for everyone when I say that if you dress up like a Morris man and dance, I will film it. I will cancel whatever I have on that day to ensure that footage is captured and not in your possession.
Well, it could happen. 2024 could be the year that happens. I also had another idea where I wanted to follow the British folk calendar and go to all the different folk events in 2024, from solstices through to local kind of things, whether it's cheese.
I'm less fussed about that, but if you film it, we'll find a place for it.
Yeah, we need to get sponsored by I don't know, a cheese maker or something.
Oh, you reckon?
Maybe a cider maker might sponsor that. Who knows? Who could we get to sponsor that? Magna's, Scrumpy.
The Irish cider.
Yeah, the famous Irish cider. I don't bloody know. Well, I don't know, Johnny. It's all these things.
I was about to say maybe somebody like the post office would sponsor it, but obviously that's not.
Dude,
you don't want to be sponsored by them right now.
No, they're the devil, aren't they? At the moment, the post office, Horizon System or whatever the fuck it was called,
and indeed Fujitsu. Let's not forget the are Fujitsu and Fuji the same company?
Fujitsu, Johnny. What's it got to do with Fujitsu?
Well, Fujitsu made Horizon.
They made Horizon. Oh man,
yeah. So they're caught up in all of it. They're to blame, really, as far as I can tell. And the post office then covered it up. So our beloved, we use actually on the channel we're mostly Sony now, but there's some Fuji stuff in the works. I'm
Fuji gang. I use Fuji cameras.
We're gonna have to boycott them if we've got any integrity.
XT3, XT4, XE1. What other Fuji? That's about it, Fuji wise. But
why are you advertising the fact that you are so tied into Fuji right now?
Well, they make good cameras, Johnny.
Right.
I think where I'm in Margate, I think Fujitsu, if we're calling them that, it sounds too much like Jiu-Jitsu for my liking, Johnny. Fujitsu, I think they've got a base in Thanet, near Thornby Model Railways base, where they make the little mini trains.
Of course you know that. You should join a railway club.
Well, yeah, this is it, man. I'd join a mini railway club. I'd join maybe a knitting club. I'd join maybe a ukulele
I'm fairly sure,
club.
There's a TV show that did this because we got contacted by them, like Channel 4 maybe. They were like looking for home brewers to go and interview and like get involved in. It was like niche hobbies.
Yeah, that's.
So I think your idea might have already been done. Yeah.
Bollocks.
Soz.
Maybe it's already been done. Maybe it doesn't matter it's been done, Johnny, because we
True.
haven't done it.
Exactly. That's what the world. That's what matters to the world. Is whether Johnny and Brad, supposedly the beer podcasters, have done. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back on track. Shall we?
Go on,
shall
then.
we talk about this week's video?
Yes, we should talk about this week's video. Yes, 2024.
So I looked back in the annals of CBC, and this is our 8th big in.
Wow.
We've predicted some big things to happen that turned out, and some big breweries. We predicted Daya becoming a national force in the UK, Verdant becoming, well, I'm not sure we quite predicted them to be one of the best IPA brewers in the world, but they are, and we said they'd be very good. So, if you're featured in this video, it can be a big deal. And I am, in particular, very excited about Two Flints, who we mentioned, and also Wild Horse, who made the delicious hoppy lager that we talked about as one of the big trends for this year, which I think is the most likely prediction I've made. But I think if you haven't tried Wild Horse or Two Flints, you should grab a box from them or from your local bottle shop ASAP, because the beer is magic.
It sure is. Sure is, Johnny. I compared you to the blind Russian old lady in the thing, which we had a comment from Charles Off Denson. He said, "You mean Bulgarian old lady who is famous in Russia, who Vanga was her name, right?" So then that did spark in my memory. I remembered she was called Baba Yaga, I believe.
And what was she predicting?
Okay.
The way you said that is like, Johnny. We're going there.
Yeah. Well, we could go there. I've got a few of them. I basically just got some of the nice ones, pretty much, because they're all pretty bad. But she predicted up until the year, where's it gone? Like 5,000 and something. So every year up until, it'd be good if I had it open, wouldn't it, Johnny, on the page? Bloody hell. She predicted the death of Princess Diana, the sinking of the Russian submarine Kursk, 9/11 terror attacks, and she also predicted her own death on the 11th of August 1996 at the age of 85. She isn't around anymore. Go on.
Well, presumably because she died on.
She died on the day
date.
she predicted. Yeah. I mean, that would be the ultimate test of a mystic, right? If you don't die,
But I
on
feel
the
like
day
it's something
said
you
you're
can
gonna
control,
die,
right?
She might have Baba Yaga'd herself. But yeah, she had like no eyes, Johnny, which apparently was something to do with. Supposedly, she lost her sight in some sort of storm. I from memory, I think it might have been a whirlwind or a tornado. It says, blind since childhood, Bulgarian clairvoyant apparently was able to see into the future. Powers she attributed to a tornado that left her blind.
Man, how strong does a wind need to be to make you see into the future?
Pretty bloody strong.
Yeah.
I tell you. But yeah, she made predictions up until the year 5079.
What did she predict would happen there?
5079. I don't know, Johnny. I don't know. But anyway, I can say this year in 2024, Johnny, she predicted loads of horrible stuff, which I'm not going to go into. But she did also.
Is she just an anxious pessimist?
Yeah, probably. No,
because
I don't know. She's
my mum's sometimes like that. She'll just reel off a load of things that are going to go wrong.
Yeah. Well, this year, Johnny.
Oh, God. Go on. Okay.
She's predicted medical breakthroughs. Including treatments for incurable diseases such as Alzheimer's and cancer.
Right.
So that could
fingers
be good.
crossed. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's also this blows my mind. She died in 1996. She predicted in 2024 there will be a major breakthrough in quantum computing. How did this Nana know about quantum computing in the year 1996?
Encyclopedia Britannica, I'd imagine.
Possibly. I don't know what year quantum computing was theorized. Presumably, it was a good while ago. Maybe Stephen Hawking wrote it from Epstein's Island.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry.
Glad I asked about this Baba. I've already
Yaga.
forgotten her name.
Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga.
She's known as the Nostradamus of the Balkans. There you go. Shall I tell you, Johnny? I don't usually remember my dreams, Johnny, But I had a wonderful dream. It was the night before we would have done our podcast at the end of the year, but we didn't group together to do it. But basically, I don't normally remember my dreams, but I woke up from a blissful sleep to the memory, a very, very clear, vivid dream, Johnny, of it involved David Hasselhoff and
Of course.
my car, and my car as well. So
Two,
somehow I was
two characters that feature quite a lot on this podcast.
yeah. I was transposed through time and space, Johnny, somehow, and I was living back at my mum's house, in my bedroom, which was at the front of the house, had a bay window. I don't know why I was there because I don't live there anymore. But I heard a commotion outside, Johnny. It sounded quite beefy, like a big rumbling noise, and I sort of curtain twitched my way out the window. Had a little look, and I could see pulling up on my suburban street in Beckenham. I could see Kit and the Night Rider pulling up. You know the Night Rider?
Two mentions this for Night Rider today. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean, do I know it? I talked about it minutes ago.
Yeah.
Or is it hours ago? I don't know.
Could have been hours ago. Night Rider pulled up, right, just outside my neighbour's house. My mum doesn't like my neighbour. Well, one of the neighbours. She likes the other one plenty, but one of them's a dick. Pulled up outside Gora's house, and he I think he went in his house. I'm not sure about that, but I certainly saw him exit, and he was in full Michael Knight outfit. So we're talking like leather pants, leather jacket, big 80s sort of, what is it called, the sort of continuous curly hair, a perm. He had a perm, and he looked great. Anyway, so maybe he's shining in the moonlight, Johnny. But all the pleather and leather was just iridescent in the moonlight as he rang the doorbell of my neighbour. So I thought, oh, okay, Michael Knight's next door, cool. Went back about my business, and then later on, Johnny, I heard a commotion outside again. I looked out the window, and who did I see? I saw Michael Knight was snooping around my Volkswagen Lupo. He was peering in all of the windows. He was having a good old look. He had his hand running along the lines of the body of the car, Johnny, in a very sexy way, as if he was lusting after my Lupo. And he sort of did a circuit, and I thought, I'm going to go down and give Hasselhoff a piece of my mind. And I went outside, Johnny, and I said, all right, David, because I've switched from Michael Knight to David Hasselhoff now. I said, David, you all right? He's like, yeah. I was like, what's going on, David? He's like, I just really like your car. I was like, thank you, David. I was like, you've got a nice car too. He's like, yeah. I said, would you like a ride in my car? And he said, you know what? There was nothing else I'd rather do than go for a ride in your Volkswagen Lupo with you, Brad. So me and Michael Knight, the Night Rider, hit the dark streets of Beckenham, and we drove around in the Lupo for a good while together, and he just admired my small German car. And that was the end of the dream. I woke up thinking that was a lovely, soothing experience. Maybe one of the best dreams I can ever remember having. What do you reckon?
It's speechless.
It's good, right? I think it's good enough to animate. I reckon I could make a film out of it. I reckon it'd be pretty good.
Sorry, it would be a film of just you driving around Beckenham with David Hasselhoff.
Well, no, it would be the dream. It would be. I wish I had more dreams that I could remember, because I thought that's such a great dream.
Do you know, actually, it sounds like a really crap music video for a David Hasselhoff song.
Come on. It's better than that.
In fact, didn't he have like a jump in my car or something? Maybe that was about you.
Oh, maybe he did. I think you're right. Yeah, he did, didn't he? Jump in. Come on and jump in my car.
Yeah.
Sound like a sort of Chaz and Dave-esque sort of honky-tonky.
Yeah. That's how I remember it, yeah.
Right, I think
so
you're right.
You just lived out that.
Weren't they jumping in his car, though? He jumped in my car, Johnny, which admittedly is shit compared to kit.
Well, it can't speak. Well, I'm not aware of it, but it's not like your sofa, which sounds a lot like me.
Yeah, it can't speak unless at one point I did have a Bluetooth connector when I switched from my old Nissan Pal, which was a beautiful little classic Japanese car I had to sell because of ULEZ. When I switched motors...
For a second there, I was like, who's Liz? And then I realized, yeah, ULEZ.
ULEZ. Yeah, ultra low emission zone in London. It's going to cost £15
like, is somebody called Liz with you? That'd be weird. This podcast is...
It's gone... Derailed it, mate. I've derailed it.
We can't even see the track at this point.
Well, you were asking about does it speak? I plugged in my very cheap Bluetooth transmitter that would send a Bluetooth signal from my phone to the radio, and whenever you turn the car on in my old Nissan Pal, it would speak in Chinese to you, Johnny, because it was, for some reason, it wasn't in the English language, the Bluetooth transmitter. It was in Chinese. So you'd have to sort of guess what it meant. I never found out what it actually meant. But it must have meant connecting. Whatever it was saying was connecting.
That reminds me of the fact, I don't know whether... Do you know, I need to speak to my dad about this because I don't quite remember how this happened. But essentially, we went to Germany when I was a kid to visit some friends. And while we were there, my dad bought a new house phone.
Nice.
And I guess it was cheap. I don't really know. But we brought it home, and either my dad couldn't figure out how to change the language to English, or we realised it didn't have English. So it meant that every time, like, you'd listen to your messages, he'd press the button and go, boop, and I can still remember it go, Anfrage 1, which is like message 1. And so for the entirety of me growing up, our house phone spoke German. And I've only just remembered that.
There you go. I've broken a childhood tree / memory for you.
You've unlocked
That's great, isn't it? That's fun, isn't it? It's fun. Stuff like that's pretty good. I enjoy things like that because they're sort of made to kind of make you feel futuristic and like, wow, this thing has intelligence, but it really doesn't. It's just pre-recorded, and it doesn't know that you don't speak the bloody language, so it makes life harder. It's very funny. It's very very entertaining.
Thanks for explaining.
You do speak German, though, don't you?
I speak A-level German. I wouldn't say I speak
That's
German.
That's pretty good. Better than my German.
I could hold a very awkward conversation with a German if they spoke slowly.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the video. So thank you for the comment. Thank you for the comment that led us down
Baba Yaga. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, this week's video was our predictions of what will happen in 2024 in the world of beer. And the main thrust of it, other than Hoppy Lager and Strata being big and macro brewers succeeding with their craft brands in places that previously used to have very good beer lists, is this idea of what you called the two wolves living inside of every beer geek.
Yeah.
That
pretty
sort
logical.
Of snap and yap at each other. One of them loves pastry brewing, and the other one loves 8-wheat lagered and double decocted pilsners. Essentially.
Yes.
And so we were talking about, no shade to either side of that debate, whether you're on the, heritage, traditional side, or whether you're on the I really like my beer to be half fruit side. We decided that, there's going to be kind of a marketing war as we work out what craft really means, what our expectations are of craft, and indeed how the rest of the world perceives the craft beer world. Is it silly nonsense that's fun, or is it, deep respect for the traditions, or can it be both? And off the back of that, we got a great comment from It's Good.
It's good.
Who raised a point which I hadn't actually really thought of, but probably should have been in the video, which is, I suppose the issue for those two schools of craft brewing is how much you can charge for your beer. I paid £8.50 for a can of the Asvex in my local taproom at Christmas and would happily do so again, but when I'm presented with a fairly, air quotes, standard 4.5% pale, I get grumpy if I pay more than a fiver. Obviously, Asvex costs more to make and incurs higher taxes, but I still feel like a lot of people aren't willing to pay premium for crafts that aren't at least a little bit silly. And it's totally true. We were talking about the marketing issues that's going to be created there, but the cost, because even It's Good, and it's a great comment, producing that Asvex beer might not be as expensive as you think. It was a strong beer, so there's lots of tax. But fruit puree is way cheaper than hops. Way cheaper. So, we perceive that a beer like that should cost a lot more.
Yeah.
But it definitely doesn't. So we're kind of excusing the cost of these beers when we shouldn't necessarily. So there's this whole issue that, I was in my local bottle shop yesterday picking up some bits, and there was, I won't mention the brewery because it's unfair because lots of breweries do this, but it was a 5.2% New England Pale, and it was £5.80. You're like, wow, so it's nearly £6 for a can of what should be, a session sipping crushable beer.
Wild.
That's a lot, and I'm not necessarily blaming the brewer, which is why I don't want to mention them. I'm blaming, the tax regime and everything, and the insane costs of hops and of ingredients and of energy at the moment. But it's, if you're going to have to spend £6, you're going to want something you remember for a couple of weeks, I'd have thought. So I think it's a genuine issue that we're not really talking about, and I think it's why we're being pushed to do silly brewing, because the costs of it are insane. And, much as I try to support small and independent bottle shops and stuff, brewers are capable of producing very excellent beer where the cans cost £2.50. So it then puts pressure on these traditional or less silly styles of beer to either lower their costs or be more silly. It's a really unfortunate kind of situation that we're really into pastry at a point where costs are spiraling and getting your voice heard is very difficult.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to solve it here and now, but yeah, I know, surprise, right? Mic drop.
That was my intention.
We won't solve anything.
Don't drop the mic,
do, Johnny.
It's expensive.
It is expensive. Yeah, sorry. You put them in the bloody washing machine, our microphones, don't you? You loved it.
Not routinely. No, I refute that. I did once, but I've also put my passport, quite a lot of money. Although luckily money is now launderable in the literal sense.
What happened to your passport? How did that?
Yeah, it's fine.
Is it waxy paper then? I thought the inner pages were pretty normal paper.
I mean, it was all right. I still used it for a bit. It's my old passport. The new one is not as lemon scented, but a little bit.
Did it shrink?
More put together. Yeah, hot wash. So I've got a tiny passport now.
Tiny passport makes it handy. It's easier to carry around.
Exactly.
You keep it in. You kept it in a little locket around your neck, didn't you? Just like a little passport.
Yeah,
locket.
You remember my locket? Yeah.
Yeah. It's still the chip and pin, right? Did it have the chip and pin in it, or did that shrink, or did it get bigger? Maybe.
Might explain why I can't get through the bloody digital gates. Although no one can. No one can.
No.
Do you know what? There's few better feelings than waltzing up to the digital barrier, and it just almost immediately opening.
Mine opens every time, mate. I don't know what you're on about. I find it very easy going through those things.
Oh no, I used to really struggle. Somehow, whether they've changed the programming or I just look more like I used to, I don't know. But I've had a lot more success with it of late. But I used to struggle with it big time.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe it's changing face hair, whereas you've had the same face hair and roughly the same hair for quite a long time.
It's true. You're not allowed to have glasses or anything, or a hat or anything like that covering your face.
Do you know, even I discovered headphones around your neck. That'll screw it.
Really? That's interesting.
High collars, that'll screw it.
High collars?
Used to.
High collars?
Collar. If you've got a
collars.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Really?
Yeah.
So no turtlenecks through security?
No, you want your neck on show. It must have something to do with like the face shape recognition or something.
Old school sort of James Bond types love wearing a roll neck, don't they? You know.
Yeah. Or if you went to university in like 2005 when wearing your collar up was, I mean, you always look like a bloody moron, but everybody did it at my uni.
Popping your collar. I don't mind I pop a collar, but not in a sort of Tory popping a collar vibe.
Right. How does popping the collar vary?
Just the way
Is it just like the intent behind it?
Yeah, the intent behind it.
Right, okay. So it's not the actual collar that makes a difference, it's the rest of you.
Mine's not tribalistic collar popping. Mine's are like individual, like I'm giving myself a little bit of swag here, popping my collar, you know?
Right.
You don't know, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking anyway.
Okay.
Maybe everyone just thinks Tory dickhead when they see me.
I don't think that's what they think when they look at you. I really
Yeah,
don't.
probably not. No, I don't either, to be honest.
Did you find any other great comments?
Well, I liked all the Baba Yaga chat. We had some sort of chat about splits. We had I like this one from Father Earth 93. This is one of the strongest thumbnails I've ever seen. If you put this on a shirt, that would be golden. Brad giving
Good
us
Lord.
all his puns in one go. What a start to 2024. Yeah, we put the thumbnail to our Patreon community, and they liked it. They said it should be more extreme, didn't they, Johnny?
Yeah, I put it to them because I thought it was going to be too much and they were going to talk us down, but they tried to talk us up.
Yeah. You were basically sort of like a bit of a cross between Emperor Palpatine and Harry Potter, or someone in Harry Potter with like a shit wizard's hat, basically.
Yeah, but I think I was more. I was more like a what's the word? Pantomime Harry Potter.
Yeah. Well, do you know why that is, Johnny? Because when I looked for mystical wizard's hat on the internet, the image I had settled on was a child's fancy dress wizard's hat. So that is actually from a child's head, which you do have quite a small head. So I thought,
oh, for God's sake, I knew that was coming.
I had to get an appropriate sized wizard's hat for you, Johnny. So.
I don't have a small head. I have a small gap between the top of my head and my ears, which means that adult hats sit on my ears.
That's good.
The circumference of my head is perfectly normal.
I thought your circumference was tiny as well.
No. Circumference. If I wear like a baseball cap, I'm mid-range on the little clips on the back.
Ah, okay.
I'm bang average.
Misunderstanding on your head structure there.
Yeah, no, it's the height of my head that
small
that
circumference.
Either that or my ears are really high on my head. I don't know.
You've got some great grey matter going on there that's working extra hard, even if it is smaller.
Thanks, friend.
It's very, very much firing on lots of cylinders. Yeah, like a crow.
I like to think so.
Like crows got tiny brains. I read this thing the other day, right, which I loved, which was a study at an American university where someone was mean to a crow while wearing a mask, right? And then all of the neighborhood...
How are you mean to a crow? What...
I don't know. They didn't specify
like impersonate it or something.
Maybe they bullied it in a way where they thought they were going to get a treat, and then they denied them a treat. Like something like that. Like, here's one of my chips, crow buddy, and then no, fuck you, and then ate the chip in front of them or something like that. Anyway, this crow communicated to the other neighborhood crows that the person in that mask, so that face, was a bad egg, and then all of the other crows were then mean to that person, and they were dive bombing them. They were screaming at them when they saw them to alert other crows they were in the area, and it's amazing. They've got this crow communities. They're incredibly intelligent.
Come on,
a crow. Oh, you beat me to it. Damn. They've got incredible problem solving skills,
and facial recognition,
and
bear a grudge,
and they're able to basically mimic human speech patterns, all kinds of crazy stuff. Crows, crazy corvids, man.
It's still not really a compliment to me, though, is it? At the end of the day,
well, just saying, size doesn't matter, Johnny.
Right? Okay. Well, sure. I appreciate that.
The crow head is very small, bean-like, but incredibly. They understand water displacement theory, Johnny, where they know. I've watched crows do various tests of their problem solving, and they'll have a glass cylinder or a plastic cylinder filled halfway with water. They'll put stones in it to displace the water to make the level rise, so they can get a stick out of it that they'll then use to go and open up bloody, whatever, some other bit of amazing They're just incredible, Johnny. Crows. Mate.
I feel like Brad, without the outlet of Friday 5 p.m., we're sort of bubbling over Christmas, and we're just getting everything you've been biting your lip about for the last 3 weeks is all pouring out, much like like a tub of water with a crow with a bunch of stones. It's just spilling over now.
What does stone the crows come from? Not to big up our
hey. Well, no,
person.
sure, big him up.
But what does it come from?
Well, yes, it's an idiom. Maybe when there were too many crows, you'd start throwing stones at them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to go. We've talked about. Actually, we won't say it on Pod Live, but there are places with crows that I'd like to go and have a beer.
Places with crows where you'd like to go and have a beer.
Well, not crows, but like corvids.
Why are we talking in riddles now?
Well, it's a good idea, Johnny. I don't want to let out to the wider beer community at this point.
Places
not willing
with
to
crows. Okay, well, I'm gonna
not
think
crows,
on that.
Not crows, but some other corvid family member, genus. Have a think. I've mentioned it.
I will.
I feel like I've already given it away, but anyway.
I mean, you clearly haven't, unless everybody at home is screaming at their phones or car radios.
They're all clicking their hands
sentient sofas.
Yeah, sentient sofa. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other comments? Any way we can possibly tie the last 10 minutes of this podcast to beer?
Yes. I do have other comments, Johnny. I'm just reading them, and I'm dyslexic, so it takes me a little while. Sorry, it's not very exciting.
Do you know what? While you're doing that, I'll talk about the fact that in the comments we had lots of lovely comments from people very excited by some of the breweries that we featured, including Nothing Bound, who made a great beer, including obviously Wild Horse. McColl's as well got a lot of love. So McColl's, I discovered they sent me some beer because I think on this podcast I talked about a style that they'd just made, and they're like, "Can we send you some?" I was like, "Yes, I'd love to try beer from breweries I never heard of," and their beers were exceptional.
Nice.
So we talked about the beer that's in the podcast, which has now just been added to their core range, a beautiful sort of dry hop saison. They make brilliant beer. So if you ever see anything by McColl's, get it. And if you ever see anything by Wild Horse or Nothing Bound or Two Flints or any of these breweries that we featured, like, for all the bad stuff that's happening in the world and in the world of craft beer, there is some magic beer. I think that UK beer has matured a little bit, and we have real strength and depth now. And obviously we all have our favourites that have been around for a while and that we know and trust, but actually I do think it's becoming less of a lottery. We've talked a lot about how, trying new breweries sometimes was risky. That's getting less and less true. And McColl's make fabulous beer. I can't recommend them enough. As do Asvex. And actually Asvex, the brewer there, got in touch slightly jokingly on his story, sort of was like, "Hey, look, Mum, I'm too silly." But then in the next story, he talked about how it was an interesting debate, and we had a little chat privately as well. So he was up for it and does make great beer. I'd really hate anybody to go away from that video thinking we didn't think that that beer was great and Asvex are very good as well. It's just that beer was very, 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 very silly.
Very silly.
Have you found some comments while I was spitballing?
Yeah, I've just been sneezing from the dust that accumulated on my purple sock.
You've been sniffing your sock?
Yeah, no, I'm refuting that claim, Johnny. I've not been sniffing anyone's socks.
I've seen you not sniffing.
This comment from Who's Rattle, I think, sums it up. I appreciated the point that if you want a particular beer or brewery to stick around, you got to buy their beer. While I think there are probably many closures on the horizon, I want 2024 to be a time of supporting great breweries, making great beer, and doing great things for the world. He says, "I'm blessed enough to live in New England, where there's lots of that all around me, but I had better be sure not to take it for granted." So I think that's a good message for this year. You got to support the beers and the breweries that you love. Don't take it for granted, because they are working their asses off to stay in business.
It's a tricky one. Like use it or lose it is sort of the shorthand phrase for that, and it's tricky because obviously if you look to really support your locals and your favourites, that's wonderful. But obviously, you're taking away beers from other people or sales from other breweries that you would have worked with. So it's really tough without saying everybody should be drinking more to do it right. But, the way I look at it is pick your favourites, the ones you'd hate to see go. But also, look after your own little corner of the earth and hope that everybody does the same.
Exactly.
Because I think that's very important. Supporting the locals. For me, it's Baron and it's Crossover and it's those kind of guys and the bottle shops that are around here. If they went, they'd have the biggest impact, and I try to support them as much as possible. And it's also why we travel quite a bit, because we want to go and help other localities in the world do it, do what they want to do and survive.
We do base our programming schedule when we visit on Baba Yaga's predictions from 1996.
Of
and
course,
she did say 2024 was going to be year of the lager.
Year of the hoppy lager, or just lager?
Year of the lager. It was a hazy prediction, Johnny. It was a hazy prediction.
But I presume she's predict that every year.
Oh,
like
yeah,
everybody
she
else
loved
has.
lager. She loved lager.
Right.
Yeah,
she was just pushing her agenda.
Her agenda was very lager forward.
Mm.
She had an eye for a great lager, Johnny, even though she couldn't see. But anyone could see that 2024 will be.
She had a nose for it, should we say?
She had a nose for it, Johnny.
For
her
good
olfactory system was off the factory floor. Great. First bottle.
Yeah, I like it.
Technique. Oh no, she's Balkan, isn't she? She's not German. I was just thinking back to your German answer phone, Johnny.
Yeah, well, me too, constantly now. That and the place with the crows that we're going to be going to this year.
Well, we gotta not wear that disguise that the crows all hate. I mean, that's genius. I mean, I'm glad that the person who thought up that experiment didn't go full like, this is my own face, I'm going to piss off a crow.
I mean, if I were them, I'd have put like a Donald Trump mask on and been like, maybe we could kill two birds with one stone here.
Oh, we could have like radicalized crows to political ends. That's what you're saying. A crow agenda, a crow revolution, crow-volution.
Come on.
I can't get there. Crow-volution, that's all I've got.
All I've got is crow d'etat, like coup d'etat.
Oh, I quite like that. That's quite good. That's pretty good too. They're both strong. In the war, the coming war with our crow brethren, they'll be pecking eyes out left, right, and centre. Baba Yaga's style, no eyes. Don't know if she had. I think she had no eyes. I think she had no eyes, Johnny.
Right. Well, I thought we'd established that a couple of days ago. Yeah.
But yeah, go on,
Brad. I'm going to call this to a close.
Go on then.
I think we've done enough damage for 1 week to our reputation, and indeed the reputation of clairvoyance everywhere. Anyway, so if you haven't watched this week's video, it is less waffly and slightly more to the point than this podcast has been. Next week we have finally the unveiling of my trip to Svalbard, which I went to for book research, but managed to put together a film about daily life there and also about the world's most northerly brewery. I've even been playing around in Google Earth Studio, Bradley, and putting together some animations of traveling around the world. It's all new. It's all exciting. So there's that to look forward to next week. And we do have, we've missed a lot of uploads of late because of the book, but hopefully we've got a decent schedule all the way up to March figured out. We'll be missing as few uploads as possible and obviously keeping the podcast going. And lots of exciting other stuff happening in 24, including our app, which hopefully we'll update you on in a couple of weeks. So that's all for this week. We'll see you. See, now I'm just thinking about people with no eyes. You'll hear from us next week.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you'll see us or see me on Wednesday in the Arctic. Love and beer. The Bubble and Friday 5pm podcasts are brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's craft beer channel. You can watch over 400 mini documentaries at youtube.com/the craft beer channel. And if you love what we do, support us via Patreon and get access to merchandise and our amazing Discord forum, a positive and welcoming space for everyone who loves beer, food, and homebrewing. Love and beer.